videos that we originally streamed live to Twitch, twitch.tv/smAsho, like our meteorology segments. Today's will be there before it appears on YouTube or BitChute. So if you're viewing the videos on YouTube or BitChute, consider becoming a follower over on Twitch, twitch.tv/smAsho. Probably the world's best live streaming platform. So our meteorology segment today should be interesting. We're looking at sea surface temperature anomalies first around Florida because there's a tropical system about to crash into the Florida Panhandle in some sort of a path similar to this. And we're just looking at sea surface temperature anomalies here. Sea surface temperatures here in the Gulf are not particularly interesting, although they are a little bit below average here in most of the eastern Gulf. So that will not serve to strengthen things. Let's take a look at the surface winds. So there's the surface wind scenario, and we've got winds only at about 42 miles an hour here. So this is panning out to be largely a dud as we forecasted days ago because of the dry mass of air located there in the Gulf. So there's dry mass of air and some cool water that will serve to weaken the system as well. Anyway, here are the surface winds of the western portion of the planet. Let me rotate that a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better for all you Euro viewers. Thanks for tuning in. And here are the jet streams of the Western world. Extremely incoherent jet streams here in the Northern Hemisphere. Check out the extreme bends over the North Atlantic Ocean. Some backward jet stream in the Central Atlantic. And most of the jet stream here staying away from the U.S., largely incoherent jet stream in the Northern Hemisphere. Let's take a look at the Eastern world. Shout out to our viewers from this side of planet Earth. Leave us a comment if you've never done so before, or if you're in a location where we've never talked about or realized your location. And I'm just checking the life of the stream here, and everything looks copacetic to me. So there are the jets of the eastern world. Extreme meridional jet stream flow in the northern hemisphere. Once again, here is the surface wind scenario for the eastern portion of planet Earth. Some odd ridges out here east of Japan. Some odd pressure ridges there on the surface. Some weird surface wind patterns are what jump out at me. So here's your weather.gov map. And again, we've got flood watches here, as well as flash flood warnings, it looks like. Tropical storm warnings in the western Florida Panhandle there. Anyway, if your county's lit up, head to weather.gov, click on your county, and see what the statement is. Here's the total precipitation forecast, and it hasn't changed too much since yesterday. Some extreme rain forecasted here for Mexico, like 20 inches. As far as the U.S., the Panhandle here expected to see some spots where they could see as much as like 7 inches of rain there. And the system is expected to come all the way up and strike us in eastern Pennsylvania, as you can see from the forecast model. The last frame there is on Thursday, August 26th. So that's the current track, and that's probably a little bit too far out to forecast. That could change drastically. Keep your forecast to around 3 days, folks. 3-day forecasts are going to be a little bit more reliable for you. Anyway, there's where we expect things to be according to the GFS model. This is the GFS model forecast for Wednesday at 1800 Universal Time, which would be 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Next, the NASA GOES Lightning Mapper, showing the western portion of planet Earth here. Quite a bit of lightning here, and especially in South America. And how about a real-time lightning map from lightningmaps.org, who I believe has no stations in South America since it's showing no lightning. We've got some terrestrial lightning in the U.S. once again here. West of Wichita. Hey, Dodge City. There's thunder rolling in. And if you're around systems like this, go out and take some video of it. You may get some sprites like we showed in today's daily space weather video in the cosmology segment. The bridge between Earth and space, what's going on in the mesosphere? What's going on in the thermosphere? What's going on in the ionosphere? Watch our daily space weather videos if you're not aware. Next, looking at windy.com's pressure maps here. Once again, the southern polar region completely dominated by low pressure. We'll advance the pressure map into tomorrow. There's where the European forecast puts pressure cells at 1300, 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Let's talk about mullets briefly. They're not coming back. They looked ridiculously when they first were around. And if you want to look really silly, we would encourage you to pick up a mullet. Make sure you grow a mullet, folks. So, mullets, I've been a leading mullet connoisseur, not connoisseur, a critic, a mullet critic for the past 25 years, maybe even longer. Thanks for leaving a comment, one audio. So yeah, mullets, business in the front, party in the back, otherwise known as the hair cape, or perhaps the Wisconsin waterfall, or perhaps the Mississippi mudslide. If you want to look ridiculously, get yourself a mullet. Some people think they're in style because they're 14 years behind the actual fashion. Don't do it. It looked ridiculous back then. You're chasing a fad. It was silly back then, and you're over a decade behind. That's why they're coming back in the UK and New Zealand and so on, because, well, they've been ostracized from society. Follow us on Instagram, by the way, to see some of our favorite mullet critiques in our comment sections. There's all kinds of exclusive content you'll get no place else. Just like Twitter, twitter.com/smashamash. Thanks to our new followers on Instagram and on Twitter. Cheers. And thanks for tuning in. By the way, here's an article on SciTech Daily about how global warming allegedly begets more warming, because MIT paleoclimate researchers are searching and searching and searching for some sort of a positive feedback mechanism for global warming. Of course, they won't find it, and this article refutes itself over and over again. Researchers observe a warming bias over the past 66 million years that may return if ice sheets disappear. Yeah, it may return if ice sheets disappear. Guess what they're not doing? Disappearing. You're living in an ice age. So here's a quote from the article. It is increasingly clear that the prolonged drought conditions, record-breaking heat, allegedly, sustained wildfires, and frequent more extreme storms, which, by the way, have nothing to do with global warming, and that's a complete fraud also. There's more extreme storms is nonsense. Record wildfires is nonsense. Record heat is nonsense. So anyway, there's a silly article published on August 11th in Science Advances examining the paleoclimate record. You'd think they'd be able to crack a geology book and realize that the planet has largely been much, much, much colder over the past 30 million years. But if you'd like to read this article, head to SciTech Daily. Maybe do a web search for, how did I find it? Global warming begets more warming. So now, on planet Earth, the albedo effect actually does provide a positive feedback mechanism to make the planet colder. If you get enough snow in the northern hemisphere, it reflects enough light back into space to propel the Earth into a snowball Earth scenario, which is dangerous for things like society if you want to survive. All right, enough ranting about climate change. Let's get back to weather. And if you're going to leave us a comment that says climate isn't weather, just unsubscribe from the channel, defriend us, unfriend us, unperson us, deplatform us, do whatever you got to do. I'm not interested in debating an idiot who says weather is not climate. That's not even like a relevant comment, and I just laugh in the face of people that say weather's not climate. Weather is certainly not climate. Nobody said it was. Let's look at the U.S. Doppler radar. Here at Smash News Network, least busted name in news, we stray away from nonsense and toward facts. So anyway, here's a U.S. Doppler radar map. Lots of rain here over the eastern portion of the U.S., some in the central portion, and a little bit here west of Phoenix as well. Here is the something. Come on now, we're streaming live. It's the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Water Vapor Map, and you can see this moisture now just making its way over the top of the Florida Panhandle and the West Coast. Here's what's going on in the cloud layer. And once again, folks, all this dry mass of air down here, this all inhibits convective processes. The same way Saharan dust inhibits convective processes or smoke inhibits convective processes, so does all of this dry mass of air. It tends to be cooler, and it's just not as good to enhance these sorts of systems. So anyway, here's a recap. U.S. Doppler radar map. Here's the water vapor map, which should give you some idea of the way these things are going to move. And here's the cloud layer. We'll close the video out on the water vapor map. Thanks again for tuning in, viewers. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thanks again for leaving comments. One Audio, a.k.a. Robert. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. smAsho, signing off from the Smash News Network. Least busted. Naming news.